hook, included as part of the same paragraph as requested. Before this story begins, stop scrolling, because what you're about to hear will change how you see beauty, power, and justice in America. And if you believe stories should expose cruelty and restore dignity, hit subscribe right now so you never miss narratives that shake the soul and flip the script. Now listen. They called the black woman too ugly to marry. They laughed, they whispered, they spat their judgments like facts, and no one. Imagine that the night a mysterious millionaire removed a simple brown paper bag from her head. The room would fall silent, hearts would seize, secrets would erupt, and lives would be destroyed and reborn all at once. Because this was not just a reveal, it was a reckoning. And the story begins in a decaying southern town where respectability was measured by skin tone, cheekbones, and silence, where Mariah Johnson learned early that beauty could be a weapon used against you or withheld from you. Entirely, where her mother braided her hair each morning, whispering prayers that the world would be gentler than it ever was. And yet by the time Mariah reached adulthood, she had become the town's favorite cruelty. The woman men mocked at bars. The woman aunties shook their heads at in church. The woman social media labeled with laughing emojis and comments like, "Who would marry that?" And when her mother died, Mariah stood alone at the funeral while people whispered not condolences but speculations, as if her very existence was a failure. And still she worked, still she endured, cleaning offices at night, reading books during lunch breaks, saving pennies, refusing to shrink. And it was during one of those night shifts in a glass tower owned by a man no one had ever seen that everything changed, because the rumor of the billionaire recluse, Alexander Crown, had become legend. A man who built tech empires, vanished from magazines, never married, never appeared. And when Mariah found a handwritten note on a desk asking her to attend a private dinner as a paid guest, humiliation burned first, because she assumed it was a prank, another joke at her expense. But hunger and curiosity pushed her forward, and the instructions were strange. Arrive wearing a simple dress, cover your face with the provided bag until told otherwise, speak only when asked. And Mariah nearly laughed, nearly cried, nearly tore the note apart. But something deeper, something defiant, told her to go. And when she arrived at the mansion on the hill, escorted by guards who treated her with unsettling respect, she saw other women there, all conventionally beautiful by every cruel standard, all staring at her with open disdain as the staff handed her the bag, and the whispers began immediately, mocking, vicious, familiar. And Mariah lowered her head because she had survived worse, and the dinner unfolded like a twisted pageant, with Alexander Crown speaking from behind a screen, his voice and head calm, measured, asking each woman questions about love, loyalty, sacrifice, pain, while they answered with polished smiles. And when he asked Mariah to speak, the room tensed, laughter bubbling, and she answered honestly, about grief, about invisibility, about how being unwanted teaches you to see the truth in people. And silence followed, thick and uncomfortable. And one by one, the beautiful women were dismissed, their answers exposed as hollow, until only Mariah remained, shaking, confused, still hidden behind the bag. And then Alexander appeared, not as a monster or a god, but as a man with scars of his own. And he told the room, told the cameras, told the world, that this was never about the world, that this was never about marriage, never about beauty, but about truth. And then he reached out and removed the bag. And what happened next shattered expectations, because Mariah did not collapse from shame, but from revelation, as flashes of memory hit her like lightning, because the face revealed was not what the town remembered, not what cruelty had rewritten, but the face of a woman who had once been a child star, stolen from her family, exploited, abused, then discarded and erased by an industry that destroyed her and rewrote her story as ugly to make its guilt easier to carry. And Alexander confessed in front of everyone that he had been the silent partner who funded the cover-up years ago, too afraid then to speak, too powerful now to hide, and that this dinner was his confession, his punishment, his attempt at restitution. And Mariah collapsed, not because she was exposed, but because the world finally saw her. And the twist rippled outward as journalists uncovered the buried files, the falsified photos, the contracts signed under duress, the way racism and misogyny had fused to destroy a little black girl's future. And the town that mocked her scrambled to apologize, to explain, to rewrite their cruelty as ignorance. But Mariah woke in a hospital bed with clarity sharper than anger, because validation did not erase the years lost. And when Alexander offered her wealth, marriage, protection, she refused the fairy tale ending they expected, choosing instead to testify, to speak, to reclaim her name on her own terms. And as lawsuits toppled executives and churches preached repentance too late, Mariah built something new. Not a brand, not a revenge tour, but a foundation for girls erased by the world, teaching them that beauty is not permission, dignity is not negotiable, and silence is never owed. And in the final twist, when Alexander was sentenced and asked the court to spare him because of his generosity, Mariah stood and said the words that echoed across America: "You don't get credit for returning what you stole." And years later, when the town placed her portrait in the square, older, stronger, unbagged, unbowed, children asked who she was. And the answer was not ugly, not pitied, not saved by a man, but this. She was the woman they tried to erase, who survived being called unlovable, and who proved that the real collapse happens when lies are finally uncovered. And if this story shook you, if it made you uncomfortable, if it made you see the world differently, subscribe now, because stories like this don't beg for permission. They demand to be heard.